Coming up this week, off screen,
Katniss reaches the end in The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2.
we get a new vision of Steve McQueen in The Man and La Man.
Gaspar unleashes his love upon us.
We step into the ring with Mr. Calzaghe.
Kate Winslet is the Dressmaker.
And Michael Ealy is the perfect guy.
All those to come and more, off screen.
This is Off Screen. Off Screen. Off Screen. Off Screen. With the latest film news and reviews, this is Off Screen, the on-screen radio show.
Welcome to Off Screen, I'm Van Connor.
My name is Kase Allen.
So shall we start with, is it the Dressmaker we're going to start with this week?
It is indeed, yeah. This is Kate Winslet.
So Kate Winslet, the Dressmaker, which is based on apparently quite a popular novel, and this stars Kate Winslet as a woman who in her childhood was sort of cast out of her town, cast into exile from her small Australian town after having been accused of murder. She now returns years later looking like Kate Winslet, as you do.
That's what happens with all murderers.
This happens with all murderers. All murderers turn up looking like Kate Winslet after 30 years and looking for some revenge through the medium of dressmaking.
That makes no sense to me.
Well, you know what? Need for Speed. I'm going to avenge my friend by winning a race.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So Kate Winslet sets about changing the lives of everyone in the town which ostracised her by becoming the fashionista of this, well, kind of backwards rural Australian town. And this is set in the 50s, by the way. And, well, for better or worse, the town will never be the same again. Here is a clip, and I want to preface this by saying this is a clip of Liam Hemsworth being measured for a suit, not a dress. Very different film, although Hugo Weaving does get measured for dresses several times.
I'm sold.
This is Liam Hemsworth getting measured for a wedding suit by Kate Winslet and her mother, Judy Davis. And, of course, the central gag of this is that he's stripping in the background. Here's the clip.
She tells them if they want it done proper, they've got to strip and be measured because it's a work of art made special for them and no one else. You see, Tilly, I do listen. She tells them that they're all different, even though they're all the same. Too fat, too skinny. You'll be a sight for sore eyes. Anyway, lo and behold, our genius here does make them look different. Less like themselves and more like they want to be, don't you?
You just called me Tilly.
When?
Just then.
I never.
Yes, you did. And this morning. Twice.
Oh, liar. Oh.
Sounds like this is the most important piece of clothing I'll ever own.
So as you can imagine, Liam Hemsworth stripping has a bit of a muting effect.
Just imagine if his brother was there, if Chris Hemsworth was there.
No, it's funny you bring that up because, right, I never quite bought into the idea of Liam Hemsworth as a movie star.
No, me neither. He always seems like... Who's Alec Baldwin's brother? Billy Baldwin. He seems like Billy Baldwin.
He does seem to me to be the 21st century version of this decade's William Baldwin.
Yeah.
No more. He's not now. Now he's firmly got some lead actor charisma. He's got some star charisma.
That's cool.
Good
on him. Good on him.
Good for him. In the meanwhile, you've got Kate Winslet, who reminds you once and for all why she is a star. This is the sort of project could be handcrafted for Kate Winslet. Yeah. It's got a sultry, sinful, siren-like kind of a quality, which she juxtaposes nicely with this sort of fragile and broken woman, but again at the same time kind of steely and determined. And it's a really, really great Kate Winslet role, and you sort of forget that she's done things like Divergent in the last couple of years.
I think she's trying to forget that as well.
Exactly. And then you've got Judy Davis as well, who's just all grime and grump and just so much fun to behold. And I like Judy Davis. I liked Judy Davis since 1993 when I saw her in The Ref with Dennis Leary. And which, if you've never... Do you remember the film? That's the...
Kevin Spacey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is Kevin Spacey.
Oh, yeah, that's great, yeah.
Fantastic film. And then, of course, you've got Hugo Weaving, who I can only describe him as delightful. It's the best way I can say. He is simply delightful in this film. It's the best way you can say it. He's so much fun in this. He's so lovable in this film. And it harkens a little bit back to his Priscilla, Queen of the Desert days. If you're following the implication there. Without going into... Although it's not really much of a spoiler. It's
I like that film, man.
I liked Priscilla. So in the meanwhile, you've got a really enjoyable script. It's co-written with PJ Hogan did
Name rings a bell.
Muriel's Wedding.
Okay.
Did cool. Muriel's Wedding, the director of Muriel's Wedding, who's written this with Jocelyn Moorhouse, his wife, who is also the director. And now she's directed it with a really great eye for the visuals of it. It's a really stark, barren landscape, but it doesn't get in the way of the fact that it is a really, really funny film. I have actually been quoted as saying it will keep you in stitches, which of a film named The Dressmaker is a really, really awful pun. Probably
you are so proud of it, aren't you?
I'm terribly unproud of that, actually. So, should we look at some film news for the week?
Let's do it.
And see what we've got in the meanwhile.
What do you have for us?
We've got to talk about Charlie Line and his Kickstarter project.
This is genius. You just told me about this about half an hour ago.
So we've got, basically, the BBFC charge filmmakers £100 to submit their films for review. You can't release them unless they're rated by the BBFC. It costs £100 to submit your film, and then £7 per minute of footage of your film. So if you've got a 90-minute film, it's 90 times 7. He has decided the time has come for payback. Since they have to legally watch every minute of footage, he has started a Kickstarter thing to fund the creation of Paint Drying, a film that will become a minute longer for every £7 donated through Kickstarter. At present, this is 8.5 hours long. This was as of last night. So as it stands at present, the BBFC and their judges will have to sit in cinema conditions for 8.5 hours watching paint dry. This is to teach them a lesson about overcharging indie filmmakers. It's great, isn't it?
It is great.
Are you tempted to donate?
Well, yeah, I'm going to look on it right now.
I think so. But there's a video on the Kickstarter page that has, or it actually shows you his footage of the paint drying and everything like that. And it's really good. Charlie Line, he directed Beyond Clueless earlier this year, which I really liked actually at the time. I saw it at DocFest last year. But really enjoyable film. So it's on Kickstarter. The story is actually on the on-screen site, so go and have a look. It is something, I think it's going to be an interesting piece of performance art, which doesn't involve Shia LaBeouf. Okay, so you've checked, and it's apparently 9 hours and 12 minutes at present. This is going to be the length of paint drying.
Yeah, it is.
So should we crack on with the top 10 then for this week, or at least 10 through 6?
We'll do 10 through 6 first.
Number 10.
Bradley Cooper in Burnt.
Which I keep saying I liked more than I expected to. It is disposable, frothy fun. It's not like going out for fine dining. It's more like having a Nando's. Best way to describe it. It is unchallenging, uncomplicated, simplistic, kitchen-based dramedy with Bradley Cooper, who's actually tolerable in it, and going back a little bit more to his sort of comedic roots, because obviously he did this on telly.
He did this on telly,
yeah, years ago. But Daniel Bruhl's in it, and he's very, very enjoyable.
Number 9.
Carey Mulligan in Suffragettes.
Did you see Suffragette?
No, but my fiancée Kase has. She did enjoy it.
She did.
She did say it was like watching an ITV drama.
Fair enough.
So,
I think
a
it's
good one.
Quite better.
Quite high level.
Yeah,
ITV,
high concept.
Yeah.
Actually, no, she's not wrong. Actually, I think this is more sort of a BBC One Sunday night drama, though.
Okay,
But,
yeah.
I think let's go higher brow than
Yeah.
ITV.
Like an Inspector Calls level. Of,
Let's go with that Call the Midwife kind of a thing. Is Call the Midwife BBC? I have no idea.
That is Beeb, yeah.
It is Beeb, yes, because they did Strictly recently. So I know everything about the Beeb through marketing and nothing else. But I like Suffragette, and I like Carey Mulligan's performance in it, and Helena Bonham Carter's as well. And I particularly like the direction and the cinematography of it.
Number 8.
The Martian. He's still there.
He's still there!
This is Soul... What is it now? Which Soul? 1,700?
Because I've been reading the book, and I found out that the Soul is actually 24 hours and 30 minutes. Ah. So a Sol is only 30 minutes longer than an Earth day.
Yeah.
So I wanted to actually do the math and get really cocky and turn around and say, well, actually, Case, I think you'll find it's Sol 409.
You can do that for next week.
We'll do it next week.
Yeah.
We'll do it next week. But the film's amazing. What more can we say? I think we both had such a good time with it.
Yeah, we've just, we loved it, man.
We've run out of expletives and adjectives.
It's great. Ridley Scott will probably get an Oscar for the first time.
I hope so.
And Sean Bean calls people a bloody coward.
Yeah. Bloody coward. And Drew Goddard's script is a lot of fun. And I like Matt Damon very much in it.
Number 7.
Okay, let's do this one together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Nipsey!
Good old Pan.
It's terrible.
It really is, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just so bad. I mean, the first 10 minutes are great.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
It works really well. And then he gets to Neverland.
And it's what you could generously describe as crap.
That is being generous.
That is being generous because, and we keep saying this, everybody's in a different film here. Everyone seems to, I think everyone thinks that they are the comedic breakout role or they are the central figure, and they're not. And Garrett Hedlund, you are not the lead. And Hugh Jackman, you are not the Jack Sparrow. And Rooney Mara, this is not your story. And Levi Miller, we're sorry you're in this, mate.
Why are you talking to an LED?
Exactly. We're really sorry. You carry on talking to your little LED Tinkerbell. That's fine.
Number 6.
Brooklyn. I've heard good things about this.
You've not caught this one then?
No, not yet.
Well, this is, I think, one of the big surprises of the last few weeks. This is Saoirse Ronan. We said the big surprise for you and I was that it was written by Nick Hornby.
That is a big surprise.
And his script is very, very good. It's very insightful. It's perfectly gauged to balance the sort of character writing and the actual story itself. And the story is one of... I mean, the story harkens back to that sort of Catherine Cookson style novel that Housewives used to enjoy so much, but it's played in such a sort of gloriously cinematic way. I mean, there are moments in which it's in the transition from Ireland to Brooklyn, for instance, where you're reminded a lot of Titanic, of all things, because it's Irish people on a boat in a period piece setting. You can't help it, but Saoirse Ronan is so good in it. And Donal Gleeson, because I've got your pronunciation. Right, yeah. Donal Gleeson, I like him very, very much in it, and Julie Walters as well. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was a really great, really compelling film. Should we have a bit of film news then to tie us over to the next one then? Because we've got some interesting ones this week. They're assembling a think tank for a G.I. Joe cinematic universe. Does
it need any thought? At all.
Did any of the G.I. Joe things have any thoughts? No. I don't know. There's something called Micronauts as well. I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what that is.
They've cast the Baywatch girl in the meanwhile. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
Alexandra Daddario, which is kind of creepy, seeing as she recently played Dwayne Johnson's daughter in San Andreas.
But she's not going to be the romantic lead for him. She's going to be the romantic lead for Zephron.
Zephron?
Zephron.
I like that. We could call him Zephron.
Yeah, because it's far too hard to say Zac Efron.
Very true. Yeah. Meanwhile, one last piece then before we get on to the next review then. Apparently, Paramount have an option to keep Rebecca Ferguson around for the next Mission Impossible.
Keep her.
And they are. Well, why wouldn't they? She's a bit of a breakout star out of this.
I mean, that kind of sucks. That means that she might not be Miss Marvel. That would.
Yeah, I can live with it. I want Ronda Rousey or Emily Blunt or.
I think Emily Blunt is the fan's choice.
Yvonne Strahovski is my choice, actually. Ooh, Yvonne Strahovski I'd really like to see. But the most important part about Mission Impossible 6 is that Christopher McQuarrie is going to write and direct it. How awesome is that?
That is the first time.
Yeah,
in their history. Yeah, somebody's come back.
First returning director.
Yeah.
So shall we look at love next?
Let's look at love.
Let's bask in the glow of Gaspar Noé's Love, which is actually entitled Love on 3D.
Love on 3D.
Love Ian on 3D.
On. Yes. Oh yeah, of course, because he's French. Yeah.
Actually, he's Argentinian.
Oh, is he really?
He's actually Argentinian.
Egg in my face.
But he may as well be French, actually. This is a Parisian set, I want to say love story, but not really. This is more like a study of a relationship. What you have is, you have a young man played, whose name I forget actually offhand, and basically in the present day, he is in a sort of loveless relationship with a woman with whom he has fathered a child. He's unhappy. He discovers that his former girlfriend, whom he left for his current partner, has gone missing. He's not seen her in some time, and he starts to reminisce about their relationship and what it was that caused them to drift apart. Spoiler alert, the child would work in that category. This is all shot, of course, in 3D, and the marketing shtick for it is that it contains a number of excessively gratuitous sex scenes. Nevertheless, we have a clip that doesn't involve one of those scenes. I want to point out beforehand, though, I have removed half of the silence from this clip. So, given the clip is almost entirely silent, that gives you an idea of what you're encountering. This is only half of the silence.
What's wrong?
Mommy's pregnant.
Mommy's pregnant? Whoa. Of who? Of who?
Gaspar Noé's Love, everybody. So,
nice.
Yeah. This is, I mean, don't get me wrong, as far as Gaspar Noé's work goes, this is probably the most personal sort of project he's done, the most sort of soul-bearing exercise he's come up with. And it is sort of insightful. It does attempt to sort of, walk the entire pantheon of the relationship sort of field. I mean, it covers literally everything you can imagine. It does seem a little bit sort of scared in places, which is kind of odd given the sort of sexual gratuity of it. There is a moment where it seems to go into a same-sex sort of region where it bizarrely cowers away, and you just think that was the last taboo you had, Gaspar. Really, the last taboo, and you couldn't manage that? You might as well why tick 9 out of 10 boxes?
And just leave that last one.
Why leave that? You said if you're going to tick 9 out of 10 boxes, at least go for the 10th and score the perfect game, I say, it's going to be remembered most... like Tangerine's going to be remembered as the iPhone movie. This is going to be remembered as the 3D porno, basically. And that's the problem, because the sex is really distracting from the story. I mean, this film literally opens with a really stark, sort of emotionless sex scene. And, I mean, literally opens with no setup, not even a fade in, just hard
straight
cut,
on.
hard cut, static shot, and we're there for 5 minutes in 3D.
Really? A static shot, just
static shot, really. And that seems to be how he likes his sex scenes to be filmed. He tries to remove, I think, the emotion. The only thing he wants in his sex scenes is pure lust, not emotion. And the problem is that the rest of the movie is about love, and the sex scenes aren't. And the sex scenes make up about 50% of the film. And to put it this way, if you know going in that this is a 3D movie that involves gratuitous sex, there is a certain shot that is coming, no pun intended, and
I think you spelled it out there.
You do get it in spades, and it will stay with you. The problem is that those sex scenes do take away from what is otherwise a really interesting and insightful film. It does kind of leave the narrative hanging towards the end, and the final scene is inadvertently funny. I mean, there's a sequence between the lead and his child, which is a little bit funny when it shouldn't be. But other than that, you know what? It's not what you expected. It's far more insightful than what you would come to expect. So should we have another bit of film news before we
let's
the next
do it.
one? Have you heard about Bad Santa 2?
I have.
This is a great one. So Kathy Bates has been cast as, and I love the name of the character as well, Sunny Soak.
Sunny Soak.
Her name is Sunny Soak. I love that. So Kathy Bates is going to be the mother of Bad Santa. She's going to be Billy Bob Thornton's mother. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, Ben Wheatley, who's a director.
Yeah.
I think he's a love or hate him director. I think Ben Wheatley.
Definitely love him.
I'm not really sold on him, to be honest. He's entered talks to write and direct a remake of The Wages of Fear.
Okay.
Which most of us, I think, know through Sorcerer, the William Friedkin movie with Roy Scheider. Although, when you sit and look at the plot, I can't help but think you may also know it as Chill Factor, starring Cuba Gooding Jr. and Skeet Ulrich, which is pretty much that exact movie.
Hey man, do you remember when Skeet Ulrich was in films?
Yeah, remember those days?
Yeah.
My God, the 90s were a trying time. So, from Skeet Ulrich onto The Perfect Guy.
That is such a segue.
Such a segue, isn't it? So The Perfect Guy, which is... stop me if you've heard this before. Girl wants to, get married, and career woman wants to get married and settle down. Her boyfriend isn't ready to commit. She moves on, leaves the relationship, then meets the perfect guy. However, no sooner has she introduced said perfect guy to her parents, and he is the greatest guy ever, than it emerges he has something of a temper. Where do you think this will go? Maybe our clip will shed some light on this.
You're upset, that's all. That's all. We'll get through it together.
Carter.
Do you love me?
I'm not sure.
You know?
I don't know anything anymore.
You don't know anything anymore. You don't know. I'm not one of your campaigns where some damn poll numbers don't add up. This is a relationship. This is a relationship.
The Perfect Guy, ladies and gentlemen. So Michael Ealy is, of course, said perfect guy. Sarnell Lathan is the, pseudo bunny boiling career woman, and Morris Chestnut is the commitment-phobic ex-boyfriend, which seems to be all Morris Chestnut's good for now.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
After Kick-Ass 2.
I think so. I feel really bad for Morris Chestnut. He's a
like
better
him.
actor than any of the work he gets.
I saw him in The Call. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. You know what I always remember about Morris Chestnut, though? I remember he was the villain in the Steven Seagal Ja Rule vehicle, Half Past Dead, which has a sequel. Not sure how. Anyway,
What is the title of that?
Half Past Dead 2.
I guess.
Well, shouldn't it be Quarter to
Quarter to
Dead?
Dead, yeah.
Quarter to Dead. No, Half Past Dead. Quarter to Second Dead. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll work on that before we do the treatment.
We will work on that. So this is the latest in the sort of diminished psycho suburban thriller subgenre. You can take this all the way back to things like Unlawful Entry, Pacific Heights, Sleeping with the Enemy, and of course Fatal Attraction. And there is a little bit of Fatal Attraction in this, there's a little bit of Sleeping with the Enemy, those two specifically. But this seems to owe more of a debt than anything to that Idris Elba vehicle from last year. Remember No Good Deed?
I do remember that.
Which was the same kind of thing, which is let's take a really tired, cliched thriller from the 80s and 90s, and what we'll do is we'll recast it to aim it at the uncatered for African American audience, because studios tend to have this weird idea that this is a cinema going minority. They don't really sell these films, and then of course the films open huge, and the studios act surprised. Because for some reason they don't consider that there are a lot of African American people who go to the cinema. Who knew this? But so what we've got is this again. This is actually, believe it or not, nowhere near as good as No Good Deed. And No Good Deed was pretty poor.
That was rock bottom.
That was rock
terrible.
bottom. Actually, no, I did think rock bottom was The Boy Next Door, which was this year's one with Jennifer Lopez. This is
bad.
somehow worse.
Oh, I just thought of another one. There was another film with Idris Elba and Beyonce. What is it called? It's similar.
Yes, I know
Is
the
it
one.
Obsessed?
with Ali Larter.
Yeah.
Which you're thinking, yeah, you'd leave Beyonce for Ali Larter. Just saying, in the context of that film, you totally would. Right, to say that Michael Ealy is better than this film is accurate but unfair, because literally everybody involved is better than this film. This film has some of the worst dialogue. That you could.
Have you got any examples? For us?
On a first date, sorry, when he first meets the girl and he's trying to charm her, he genuinely says, and I've got this written down somewhere, I take great pleasure in, I take great satisfaction from making people feel safe and secure. He uses that as a pickup line, genuinely. So, everyone involved is better than the material.
Creepy guy.
The script, which is by a first-time writer, whose name I forget, is absolutely
I
dreadful.
think the studio will forget.
Oh,
his
no,
name
it's
as
not
well.
my first-time writer. It's by Tiger Williams, who wrote Menace to Society. So, yeah, the first-time writer was Fathers and Daughters last week. That's what I'm thinking.
Ah, right, okay.
You've then got David M. Rosenthal directing this, which is just shameful. And then you've got the worst score of the year. And I do mean worst. This is a relentless score. It's a bad score anyway, but it never lets up. It's on you constantly. It's just always there. The score just does not drown out for a second. But the most patient man in the world would be sat there in his chair, squirming, just silently begging,
Just rocking
for this
back
to
and
stop.
forth.
I can only describe it as a barrage of noise. If you've ever wondered what it would feel like to fall asleep in the service elevator of Greetings Card Factory, this is.
Oh, I'm picturing that. It's
Yeah.
just like really bad, like synth strings.
Oh God, yeah, it's so bad. It's just not any good. It is trite. It is rubbish. It is predictable. It is cloy. It is nauseatingly drippy. It is everything you have come to hate about predictable direct-to-DVD cinema and worse. And the fact that it's been sort of given this let's aim it at the uncatered for African American market is woefully patronising. It really is, and you can't help but think, really, Michael Ealy? You had so much potential. You were an up and comer. Did you see the robot series he did with Carl Urban? That
only got like one season.
That was
as well.
one season, and it was fantastic. And he's so good in it. And he was great in Think Like a Man and About Last Night. No, he deserved
What has
better
he
than
done?
this. We as a society owed him better than this.
So he is not the perfect guy.
He's not the perfect guy. He's a decent actor who's been let down by an awful movie. Perfect guy, awful movie. That's the best way to sum
Better
it.
title.
Better title. So, have you heard about 100 Years?
I have not heard about 100 Years.
Ooh, you're going to love this. Right, okay.
Set it up for me.
John Malkovich.
I'm in.
John Malkovich and Robert Rodriguez have
No,
they have
that's-
collaborated on a film together, right? In association
Oh my God.
with Louis XIII Cognac, which is aged for 100 years. Right, this might be the greatest cross promotion you've ever heard, because Louis XIII cognac is brewed for 100 years. Brewed is that made? Fermented for 100 years. They have created a film called 100 Years: The Movie You Will Never See, that is going to be sealed with instructions to only be opened in the year 2115.
That's bonkers.
That is absolutely insane, isn't it?
I love it.
I think it's fantastic. I do. I don't know if the human race is still going to be here in 100 years.
Oh, what are you doing, Malcatraz? That is incredible.
It's just like, really, is anyone going to know who Robert Rodriguez is? This means in 100 years, historians are going to be like, we found this time capsule. 100 years.
Oh no, it's got Sin City 2, throw it away.
It's Robert Rodriguez. What is this, Spy Kids?
What? 4D?
Scratch and
Smell-o-vision.
Who on earth is Jeremy Piven?
With the latest film news and reviews, this is Offscreen.
And we're back. So, do you think John Cusack ever wonders, who is this Jeremy Piven? I used to know him. I don't anymore.
10 years, man. 10 years.
He used to return my calls. Yeah. Anyway, so shall we crack on with The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2?
It's over.
Which it is over. Actually, in my notes, I do write it as Hunger Games 3B. But, right. So this obviously picks up literally seconds after the end of the last instalment, in which Peter had been rescued, but he's brainwashed and he believes Katniss is the root of all evil. So now we have the final offensive, effectively, in which Katniss must basically unite the various districts of to overthrow the totalitarian regime of the capital, overseen by the devious President Snow, played by Donald Sutherland. But as the offensive goes forward and she encroaches further and further into the capital, she begins to suspect that Snow may not be the ultimate villain after all, and she may face threats from all sides. Here's a clip.
You saw Peter, didn't you? Did you tell him hi for me? We're old friends, you know. We had adjoining cells in the Capitol. We're very familiar with each other's screams.
I'm going to kill Snow. Nothing good is safe while he's alive. And I can't make another speech about it.
Now you're talking.
So Jenna Malone and Jennifer Lawrence. Jenna Malone and Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah, I thought I said Jennifer Malone. Jenna Malone and Jennifer Lawrence there. And, well, like we said, I mean, it's over now. This is the end. Or is it? Because there's been a lot of stuff in the news recently. The franchise can carry on past this. And you're like, don't. Please don't.
Yeah.
Because the story's been told.
It's a contained story.
Narrative's done.
Yeah.
And, you do get that Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows ending to this one as well. And I do mean literally the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows ending you get to this. So the problem I have with the film really is, I'm glad it's over, and it does sort of satisfy on a we have wrapped up the plot threads sort of level. The problem is, this is a film, and this may go back to the source material, this is a film which constantly promises big moments, but then sort of wimps out on them and gives you really haphazard, almost off-screen sort of events instead. Really, I wanted more than that. And then you get to other, not big moments, but sort of big narrative moments, not big events, but big sort of story points. And they're very predictable and very trite. And the ultimate sort of ending for Snow is really phoned in. You've seen this going back decades in cinema. And the problem as well is the film is miserable. It is a miserably toned film. I mean, Katniss Evergreen may be the single most joyless character you've ever seen on a cinema screen. I gave Divergent a lot of stick for having a female, an empowered female lead who simply existed to cry and let the boys do everything. The only difference between Divergent and Hunger Games this time around is their empowered female lead cries, but then does things alongside the boys. And those boys are woefully underserved. Everyone is underserved in this. Yeah.
There's so many characters in it. It's when you get a franchise of a side and you've got to try and do service to all of them, people just get left, don't they?
That's it. They keep adding more characters as well. So you get, for instance, the likes of Natalie Dormer in there. You're like, Michelle Forbes turns up. Michelle Forbes turns up. Oh yeah, Michelle, and then she sort of
Foggy Nelson from Daredevil.
Exactly. Really, all these people, And no. And it's Liam Hemsworth is pretty much there just to say over and over again, because that seems to be all. Oh, did you do this? That's his answer to everything is You've got Josh Hutcherson, who is. I mean, you could literally stick a wet flannel on a stick and get the same performance you get from Josh Hutcherson.
But just like CGI some personality.
You really could. The only two with any personality in the film are, ironically, the two characters who are meant to be overthrown for being evil. Well, it's not really surprising they're in positions of power. They're the only ones with any charisma. If you put them in a democratic election, they're the ones who'd win. It is, like I say, Francis Lawrence, though, has some chops, and he does manage to wring some good material out of it. There is a sewer sequence in this, which is a little bit derivative of the last Maze Runner movie. It has some zombie-type creatures in it. But you do find yourself thinking, actually, if you gave him a good cinematographer, you could get a half-decent Alien sequel out of him.
Get him the guy from Buried.
Exactly, yeah, because that's my answer to everything, and that's our weekly
there it
acknowledgement
is,
of Buried.
There it is.
But yeah, Francis Lawrence actually could turn out a fairly decent Alien sequel. The problem is, he evidently can't turn out a decent Hunger Games sequel. The series is over, and you will be glad it's over. And I would imagine, I have been told, this is a friend of mine did say, actually, do you know what? It's very much like the book. I went, yeah,
I've heard that.
That's not really a justification, though, for the fact that it's a miserable film. That it's.
But if it's a miserable book,
because they change things in Marvel Comics when they make the movies all the time, and we don't sort of moan about it because it's for the sake of making an entertaining film.
Exactly, it's for the sake of the tone.
It's for the sake of making an entertaining and fulfilling film. Simply churning out this absolute snorefest of an ending, and it really is a snorefest. I mean, there's a tagline for the film which is "Nothing can prepare you for the end." And you sit and think, this is quite clearly a marketing slogan dreamt up by an ad exec who doesn't own a pillow. And that's really the long and short of it. You could snooze through this very, very easily. I think it clocks it just over 2 hours, and boy, do you feel it. You really do feel it. It's I would say it's directionless, but the whole film seems to involve walking from point A to point B, so it has a direction. It just takes its damn time getting there. It's over, at least. So, shall we look at... actually, speaking of Hemsworths, we'll have a look at Chris. What's Chris up to?
What is Chris up to?
Well, Chris, it seems. Chris Hemsworth. Thor himself. A.K.A. the Huntsman. A.K.A. the Alec Baldwin of Hemsworths.
That's the Hemsworth you want to be, isn't
That's
it?
That's the Hemsworth
you want to be Alec.
You want to be the Alec of the Hemsworths. Well, he is apparently the new Alan Quatermain.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So, apparently
cool.
Sony are looking at this as a franchise.
That'll be a much better franchise than this Huntsman business.
Very much so. I don't disagree. Although, I think it would be a better Alan Quatermain adventure than the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Let's put it that way. Memento. We've got to talk about Memento.
Oh, of course.
This is heartbreaking.
Isn't it?
Memento is getting a remake because AMBI Films have bought the library to which it belongs. Why?
They released a statement about it saying why they were going to make it, and we ended it with, we think we can make a film that has the same level of just great, like, I don't know, cinematography, integrity.
Right.
Just,
Yeah, okay.
Why are you saying that? And then he said, we want to make it an awards-worthy picture. I was just like, you're making this just for awards.
Yeah, you really are. One final bit then, before we go on. Anthony McCartan, who wrote The Theory of Everything, a.k.a. the best film ever, apparently, if you believe the Oscars. It gave us the Eddie Redmayne Award for best Redmayning in an Eddie Redmayne film. But, the writer of The Theory of Everything...
Poor Michael Keaton.
I know, I felt so bad for him.
So, did you see that picture of when Eddie Redmayne goes up for...
Of him getting his speech out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the picture, yeah.
Oh,
Michael Keaton's
my
getting his
heart's
speech
broken
out.
too.
I know, you feel for him, don't you? Poor Birdman. Come on, he was worth more than that. But, so the writer of The Theory of Everything has become the latest writer to board the Freddie Mercury biopic. This is the film that should never happen because apparently Queen don't want it to be any good. They'd rather have a PG, family-friendly film.
Yeah.
And
instead of having Sacha Baron Cohen, which is... spot on, top-notch casting.
Yeah, and he wanted a gritty R-rated tell-all film, and you sit and think, which would Freddie Mercury have wanted? And I'm pretty sure Freddie Mercury would have wanted the R-rated gritty tell-all.
He would have wanted the warts and all, darling. He wanted warts and all.
That's exactly how he would have said, I want warts and all, darling, warts and all. Except he would have dropped an F-bomb in there, because apparently that was his favourite thing in the world.
Yeah, but we can't because we're a family show.
We're a family-friendly show. So, real quick review then. Mr. Calzaghe, which is a documentary about Joe Calzaghe, the heavyweight boxer, southpaw boxer, and, his rise to fame. Well, there's really not much more to say than that. This is basically a documentary all about his rise to fame, what he did to stay successful, his training regime, etc. Here's a clip.
Joe had his own style. He was a southpaw, obviously, and very adept and very athletic. But he had a father who was not classically trained as an amateur boxer, but he'd been in the musical world, playing in a band. He's got that energy about him. But what he did was he transferred a lot of musical movement into Joe throwing 5, 6, and 7 punch combinations.
Right, this is very much as sort of cut and dry as you would think it is. It's a standard 90-minute, he comes from this part of Wales, but he's a bit Italian, and he grew up, and he's bullied at school, and he trained box. And he's really close to his dad, and here's his sisters and his sons, and here's when he fought Chris Eubank, and this should be on HBO. Between two, broadcast between two fights. This is effectively a DVD bonus extra.
Just like a featurette. A 60-minute featurette.
If you bought a DVD box set of the best of Joe Calzaghe, of all his fights in one box set, you would expect this to be like the bonus disc. And that's what it feels like throughout, because there's nothing really insightful to it. He didn't really overcome any great adversity. He was a fighter, he was kind of good, and then he stopped. And that's the story. And you're like, okay then. So, on the plus side, I know more about Joe Calzaghe than I did before, but the only reason I didn't before was because I didn't care to. He's not really a particularly appealing guy, and the film doesn't really sell him as, any further, as anything more, really. It's one, if you like Joe Calzaghe, if you're interested in the sport, if you want to know, go and watch it by all means, but I don't think you're really going to learn much more than you already would if you were a fan. So, as you will. So, what else have we got then? Oh, Matthew McConaughey has been offered both the lead and the villain of the Dark Tower adaptation. Now, this is one of those projects that I'll believe when I see it, because supposedly we've had a Dark Tower movie coming for 15 years.
Yeah, Ron Howard has been attached to it for I don't know how long. Probably since when he left Happy Days. I think it's been since then.
About then.
Yeah.
But, Val Kilmer. We're going to talk about Val Kilmer, because I don't know if this is real or not.
Did you not see his post?
No, I saw his post,
okay.
But is it real? I don't
think apparently he's now clarified his comments, but I've not read the full clarification of the
Val
comments.
Kilmer put a post out on Facebook, I believe,
yes.
That he'd been offered a role in Top Gun 2, which was going to star Gene Hackman alongside Tom Cruise, and Jerry Bruckheimer's involved, but it's going to be directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
I just love the way that he phrased it as well. It was like, Tom Cruise, yes. Gene Hackman, yes. Francis Ford Coppola.
Okay, I think it's safe to say Val Kilmer is trolling us. And, he's Val Kilmer. What else has he got to do?
My favourite ever thing on Tumblr I've ever seen, there was a post called Fat Batman, and it was loads of people of fat guys dressed like Batman. When you scroll right down, and then it's Val Kilmer just eating a croissant.
There is a meme that's, hey kids, remember when I was Batman? Yeah. It's a shame, because he was a perfectly fine Batman.
He was, better than George Clooney.
Yeah, well, I think Clooney was a victim to the material more than anything else.
That's true.
Should we finish the top 10 then, Kase?
Yes.
Right.
Number 5.
Right, this makes me so bloody sad. Steve Jobs, new entry.
See, for both of us, this is sad times. We both love this film. I do think it's a powerful, rousing character drama, rather than it's something different from the old biopic genre and subgenre. But terrific performances, fantastic scripts. It's a war of words unfolding on screen.
It is, yeah.
You've got Danny Boyle, who even in sort of distanced capacity,
it's solid.
Still manages to keep it tight, compact, solid. You've got a range of terrific performances from the likes of Kate Winslet, Seth Rogen, Fassbender obviously particularly, and of course Michael Stuhlbarg, who we are quite enamoured with at the moment.
Yeah, certainly.
But I think the MVP though is Aaron Sorkin.
Number 4.
Rem Ratan Dan Payot.
Can we just safely say that this was not press screened and I have not seen it? So
let's say that.
Number 3.
Hotel Transylvania 2.
Have you had the pleasure yet?
No, I'm just going to wait till Netflix, because every week I keep saying I'm going to see it on Sunday, but then something always happens on Sunday. So I'll see it in a couple of months.
It's one of those. If you like the first one, you'll like the second one. If you don't, you won't. Then I think it's that Meet the Parents, Meet the Focker style inversion of the formula. Dracula's gone from being the overprotective parent to being the reckless grandparent. And you know what? There's the same sort of degree of laughs, the same macabre sensibility, sense of humour. The cast are all clearly enjoying themselves. I didn't notice that Keegan-Michael Key had replaced CeeLo. But it is fun. By the way, you mentioned about CeeLo. He turned up on the X Factor after we had that conversation.
Oh, did he?
Dressed in flowers to blend into a flower wall.
Well, that's what you want from CeeLo Green.
It is. That and a Begin Again sequel.
Number 2.
The Lady in the Van, a new entry.
Which I really liked. I really loved. I thought Alan Bennett's script was really sort of sincere and considered funny and heartwarming, a little bit sort of moving at times. Maggie Smith does what Maggie Smith does so well. Alex Jennings plays a brilliant Alan Bennett. Well, both versions of him, because we get to see his psyche as two different people. And you've got a supporting cast, which is the likes of like Roger Allam and Jim Broadbent. It is possibly the most British film ever made. But that's not a bad thing. It's
at all.
Really solidly enjoyable. I really liked it.
Number 1.
And he's still up there, Mr. Bond, Spectre.
Well, I had the pleasure of seeing Spectre again this last week, and I don't think it stands up to a second viewing, which is kind of concerning because I don't think it stood up to a first. But the problem with Spectre is it's a disappointment anyway after the dizzying highs of Skyfall, and I don't think it can't sustain the momentum that Skyfall had because you were so invested with the characters in Skyfall that with Spectre you're really not. There is no, despite the fact that you've got this villain who supposedly comes from Bond's past, it's amazing how detached everyone involved, Bond himself, seems. And you're like, well, really? And it's all over the shop. Some bits are overlong and bloated and prolonged, and other bits are just rushed.
It does manage to feel rushed and then just like
rushed and laboured at the same time.
How?
Yeah.
That's a skill in itself.
That is a skill. And then you get to the third act, and you're just like, well, we are racing to the finish line with this one. And by the time you're given a 3-minute countdown, yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, the third act, which seems to be ripped entirely from Rogue Nation of all things, which is annoying.
It's infinitely better spy movie though.
Rogue Nation is infinitely better, and of course it had Alec Baldwin, which automatically makes a film better.
Unless they get him to be the next Bond.
Oh my god!
Get his character from Mission Impossible to be Bond 25.
As long as he answers a phone in that brilliant Mission Impossible way.
Bond.
But no, I think it does provide a strong narrative closure to the Daniel Craig era, and I would personally prefer if this was the end of the Daniel Craig era. I wouldn't consider it a bad era. I wouldn't consider it the worst, but I think it's done. I think it's had its day. Can we move on, have something a bit more traditionally Bond now, with something of a more traditional actual Bond himself? So a bit of film news then before we crack on with the next review. So, we got to talk about Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright has a new animated project over at DreamWorks.
Yeah.
Have you heard who he's replacing?
No, I have not, actually.
Oh, DreamWorks.
Sock it to me.
Yeah, DreamWorks pulled a project from their 2017 release slate. A project that was an animated movie called Me and My Shadow.
Oh, I heard about this.
And was going to feature the talents of Bill Hader and Josh Gad. Now, that's now been pulled. Edgar Wright is producing a shadow-based animated tale, which he's going to co-write with David Walliams instead. Final review of the week then, Mr. Allen. So should we look at Steve McQueen?
Let's look at Steve McQueen.
So Steve McQueen, The Man and Le Man. This is this is a weird one. This is half biopic, half making of documentary. So what this basically entails is this is a look at Steve McQueen's 1971 racing film Le Mans, which was something of a passion project for him, but as well it also looks at his life, how he sort of came up to Le Mans, and basically what went on behind the scenes and after. I mean, the film literally begins with his death and then sort of flashes back. But the marketing shtick for it is, for the production of this film, they have uncovered the previously, I want to say, hidden or lost, more like exiled footage from the film, because the film was such a disaster that despite the fact that over 1 million feet of film was shot for it, said film was put in a bunker and had the key tossed away. But we have a clip.
When the Flower Children came along, everything changed. Everything changed. he was almost 40. There was suddenly free sex and free love and free this and free everything. He said to me one day, he said, I have to work so hard for love in this house. He said, I can get it for free out there.
His conquest of women behind his wife's back probably averaged about a dozen women a week. It was a little less than 2 a day. They wanted to say, I had sex with Steve McQueen.
The thing with Le Mans is remembered in racing circles as probably the definitive movie on the subject. It's a film which features very, very little dialogue, but is all about verisimilitude. It's all about grit and reality. And Steve McQueen himself, being quite a passionate racer in reality, was, of course, I'm going to get in there. No other actors. No, we get actual racers to do it. So go and get guys from Porsche and Ferrari in, and we will make a film.
Those guys.
And this went millions over budget, and the director quit halfway through, and they got another guy in who Steve McQueen hated and said nasty things to on the very first day.
It was a bit of a mess.
It was a bit of a mess. Now, the clip that we just played, obviously, that highlights one of the key attributes, but it highlights one of the aspects of the film, which is that Steve McQueen himself, behind the scenes, carried on pretty much as he liked, going through 2 women a day, or a dozen a week, sort of a thing. This is directed by John McKenna and Gabriel Clark, and what they've tried to do is they've tried to put forward an argument that Le Mans had more of an effect on McQueen sort of professionally and personally than we have come to expect. The film was something of a flop, but McQueen suffered briefly and then went on to the run of The Getaway, The Towering Inferno, Thomas Crown Affair, films like that. Yeah. He basically became a sort of star for hire after that. Rather than the sort of icon he wanted to be, Le Mans broke that, dismantled his empire, and then made him into sort of, for the paycheck, star, as it were, which is basically how he ended his career, because he died in, about 80, 81?
Something like
that. So we are told about the man himself, but the problem is everyone interviewed is very, very eager to talk about the disaster that was the film. And they want to talk about McQueen, but they seem to restrain themselves a little bit on the McQueen front. They will talk about, oh yeah, he liked his women. Like, really? Because that clip is about all the acknowledgement that gets. And supposedly it's such a big part of his personality that it seems very odd to me. It's like that film Listen to Me, Marlon, recently that came out. That did a very similar thing where it glossed over Marlon Brando and women. I mean, really? It's one of the first things I think of when I think of Marlon Brando. And
that's drinking.
Exactly, you think drinking and women, and food third.
Yeah.
But Michael Jackson fourth. But with Steve McQueen, you do tend to think that's a man who loved 3 things: smoking, scotch, and women. Racing as well.
It's in the top 5.
It's in the top 5, but this is the problem. The film wants to make the case that, it broke McQueen. The film does tell us time and time again McQueen didn't attend the premiere of the film and he gave up racing professionally after the film's conclusion. But it never really goes into much of an attempt to explain why. It kind of just tells you these things without context. There is a very nice sort of segue into the story of a driver who lost his leg in an accident whilst filming, because it highlights the sort of danger of racing at the time. But frankly, I got more out of watching Rush as far as a racing. I was
going to say, there are definitely some.
Yeah, I got more out of Rush than I did from this, and it did add a new level to Le Mans as a film for me. I want to go back and rewatch Le Mans now, but it really isn't successful enough, I think, in making the case it wants to make about the links between the man and Le Mans, and that for me is a problem because it's literally the title. Yeah. So we're going to have to give the film of the week to something.
What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm thinking...
Perfect Guy?
No, Dressmaker. Not Perfect Guy. Perfect Guy, terrible, terrible movie. Sorry,
worst film of the week.
Worst film of the week, definitely. I mean, this is outdone by Love. I mean, Love was a better film than The Perfect Guy. But no, I like The Dressmaker very much. It's a film I actually want to watch again.
You'd watch it again.
But I just want to watch it for Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving's in a dress? What do you mean?
He's delightful.
That should have been the poster.
Literally, if you put Hugo Weaving in a dress on the poster, The Dressmaker.
You get like the Marvel floating heads thing. And then in the centre, you get Elrond in a dress.
Is that the statement now? The Marvel floating heads thing?
Yes, that's it.
So we should do a couple of plugs. So we've got the quiz to plug, which is your creation.
It is my creation. It is indeed.
We have the first monthly on-screen film quiz, the November film quiz. You can go on onscreenfilm.com and it's on the front page in the feature section, or just go in the feature section in general. It's on there, 25 questions to test your cinematic mettle. as concocted by Mr. Kase Allen. Are you proud of your work?
I am. It's good to be doing this again. Yeah.
Because you've done a quiz in what, about a year?
Yeah, my last quiz was about a year ago. I used to run the Cineworld film quiz. I had quite a bit of fun doing it.
You did?
Yeah.
I was there almost every time.
You were indeed. It is, I will say this, it is nice to have a quiz where I know that people aren't going to be shouting things back at me that I've done wrong.
Oh, sorry about that, Case.
Can we hear that question again, please?
Sorry about that, Case.
But no, it was good. I hope that people enjoy this one.
Showgirls!
The answer's Showgirls. The answer was Showgirls for one. I think
one of them it was. But my answer to everything is Showgirls.
The last quizzes I did a special Showgirls question.
We appreciate that. Yeah. Of course, one of the staples of our monthly quiz, it is going to be monthly. We're doing a December one. We'll do presumably an end of year one as well. And of course, every quiz will feature a token Nicolas Cage question. Of course. Because that is the trademark of Mr. Allen here. We have also got our competitions to plug as well. You can go on onscreenfilm.com, go in the competition section, and in this next week, we've got some interesting ones to go up. We're giving away special reissued for Christmas Paddington DVDs. Ooh, yeah, we've also got copies of Ant-Man to give away. I'm very, very happy about that. It's the first time we've run Marvel DVD competitions before.
You did an Age of Ultron one?
I think we did. We did an Age of Ultron one. It's because for years they wouldn't do them, and then all of a sudden they've started. But so Ant-Man, we've got Ant-Man to give away on the site this next week.
Great film.
So go on, check it out. We loved Ant-Man, both of us.
We were talking about it earlier in the show.
We were, in fact. So we've got next week. We've got some interesting ones next week. We've got Johnny Depp in Black Mass to look forward to. We've got My Skinny Sister, which I know nothing about.
I know nothing about.
Unbranded, which again I know nothing about. Carol, which is
it's Todd Haynes. It's
Kate Blanchett,
Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara as well. Fair enough. We've got Being AP, documentary about the horse racer. We've got Bridge of Spies.
Yeah.
Bit of Spielberg, bit of Hanks, touch of Cold War. What could
please.
go wrong? And of course, Pixar are back. And when is that not a reason to celebrate? The Good Dinosaur.
2 Pixar films in 1 year. Great year.
That's a good year, isn't it? 2 Pixar films, 1 year. The first one was already great. I wonder how.
If this is good, that's just gravy.
That's it. This only has to be good.
Yeah.
For it to be. By Pixar standards, this just has to be good.
Yeah. So, just be better than Cars 2 and I'll be fine.
Yeah, that's it. Just beat Cars. Or for me, I'm not a fan of Ratatouille, so.
Really?
I'm not a Ratatouille fan. If it's better than Cars 2, though, I would call that.
Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah. So this has been a Candy Store production for On Screen. I've been Van Connor.
My name is Kase Allen.
And we'll be back next week.
Just show me the way to get out of here, and I'll be on my way.
You've been listening to Offscreen. For more news and reviews, visit onscreenfilm.com.